Hey, my name is Laura and I work for an organisation called Youth for Christ, and we're about seeing young people's lives changed by Jesus. And that really is what I want to talk to you about this evening. How do we practically help your friends' lives be changed and transformed by Jesus? Earlier on this afternoon, you will have heard a great talk on the Great Commission about we are called as our purpose, as part of our purpose, to go and to make disciples. And I guess this is a bit of like the next step. How practically do we do this? And as we spend time together, as we chat, I'm going to be coming back to like this same idea. I'm going to be coming back again and again to the place that you were created on purpose, for a purpose, and so we need to live like it. How do we live this purpose out? You know, I love board games. I really love them. Loads. And I spend loads of time playing board games. And there's one board game particularly that I really enjoy, and that is a board game called Catan. Now, before you go and Google this, or before you look at the box, you need to know that what is on the box does not represent how good the game is. It's a rubbish box for an amazing game. But the first time that I played this game, I played with some friends of ours who play board games all the time. And they were teaching us how to play this game. And so we sat around and we learned how to play this game. And what they forgot to tell us is how you win. You see, the purpose of the game is winning. And they'd forgotten to tell us how to achieve the purpose. And so we were spending ages, I mean literally hours playing this game. And all of a sudden my friend declares that he's won. And I didn't understand because I thought I was doing one thing, but I was supposed to have been doing another. The key is that we never find out how to achieve our purpose. And so that's what I want to spend some time thinking through. We're not just called to do life, but we're called to do life in a certain way. And if we don't do things in certain ways, then we could be at risk of missing the purpose that we were created for. We're going to be doing this by looking at a specific book in the Bible. We're going to look at John chapter 4. And this is a story where some of you guys who have been maybe around church for a while will know the story. It's the story of the woman at the well. So we're going to spend some time unpacking this together, but the way we're going to do this is we're going to look at three different things, 3 different points. And to make it easy to remember, all of those points do begin with D, but this is to help us to remember what it looks like to live out some of our purpose. And so first of all, when it comes to sharing our faith with our friends, the first thing we need to do is to demonstrate Jesus. You know, in the story in the Bible with the woman at the well, Jesus meets this woman and weirdly, they are at a well and she is a Samaritan woman and he asks her for a drink and they get into conversation talking about life and faith and spirituality and how Jesus can transform and change her life. And as they begin to talk about this, she realises that he is exactly who he says he is. And so she goes and she shares Jesus with her village. And I believe we can learn so much from that story. So we're going to start there. And this is after her and Jesus have had a conversation in John 4, verses 16 to 19. It says this. "Go and get your husband," Jesus told her. "I don't have a husband," the woman replied. "Jesus says you're right. You don't have a husband. For you have had 5 husbands, and you aren't even married to the man you're living with now. You certainly spoke the truth." "Sir," she said, "you must be a prophet." So this woman is having this conversation with Jesus. She has a life-changing face-to-face encounter with him. But he says to her, "I know how you're doing life." And I believe he's saying to her, you need to make some changes and let this encounter with me affect the way that you live from this point on. You see, she was created on purpose and for a purpose, but she also had to live like it. You know, the goal of your life is not to have the best social media feed. It's not to have the best clothes or wardrobe. It's not that your sports team would win their league. It isn't that you would even get the top grades in your exams. None of those things are the purpose that you were created for. And yet so often that's what we give so much of our time and attention to. Your focus, your purpose is to love God and to love others. and to get other people right with him. That is your purpose. And so we need to live like it. So often we live like the purpose of our life is so many other things: to be a part of the most popular friendship group, to have the most friends, to be in that relationship with that person, to get the best grades. But actually, that is not your purpose. And you know, at the end of time, at the end of your time on this earth, when you die, as I will die, it won't matter what you got in science. What will matter is whether you are in a relationship with God and whether other people are in relationship with God, because that is what spills over into eternity. You were created on purpose, for a purpose, so we need to live like it. You see, you are God's representative in your school. So you are called to live like him. You may be the only version of Jesus that your friends ever get to know. And so you are meant to be the person in your school that forgives when everyone else is angry, that doesn't spend their time trying to get into the popular crowd, but goes and spends time with the people that everyone else rejects. You are called to be the person that when your friends are shaming people on social media, you're supposed to be the person that goes and checks in on that person and checks that they're okay. You're the person that respects their teachers. You're the person that has the best possible relationship you can with your parents. You are the people that are good stewards of your money, that don't gossip behind people's backs. You are the people that are called to live differently. Why? Because our God is different, and you are called to represent him. You are called to love God and love others and reunite people with him. That is your purpose, and so you need to live like it. I wonder whether some of us need to turn some stuff around in our lives and show our friends and demonstrate to our friends who Jesus is. As well as demonstrating Jesus, I believe that we also need to declare Jesus. We need to talk about him to our friends. And again, in the story of the woman at the well, this is something she does. So in John 4, verses 28 to 30, it says, "The woman left her water jar beside the well and ran back to the village, telling everyone, 'Come and see the man who told me everything I ever did. Could he possibly be the Messiah?' So the people came streaming from the village to see him." I wonder, how confident are you about talking about Jesus to your friends? How confident are you about talking to them about who he is and what he's done in your life? I wonder whether there are even some friends who don't even know you go to church, and so maybe, or you're part of like a church youth group, and so that actually might be the place for some of you to start. You see, I think what we have become really good at is passing on the moment of telling Jesus to your friends to somebody else. Let me explain what I mean. So we have become really good, hopefully, at inviting our friends to stuff so that somebody else can tell them about Jesus. Now, don't get me wrong. That is a good thing. It's good that we invite our friends. It's good that our youth leaders tell them about Jesus. Really good. But you were created on purpose and for a purpose, and this is a big part of your purpose. This is like the cool adventure, like privilege part of your purpose, getting to tell your friends about the person of Jesus who changed and transformed your life. And yet we pass on that privilege to somebody else. I wonder how confident you will be in telling your friends about Jesus yourself. I've got a friend who's a youth worker. And he says to his young people, they're your friends, and so it's your responsibility to tell them about Jesus. Don't you dare let me be the first person to tell your friends about Jesus. That blew me away. But I've got to say that I agree with him. They're your friends, so don't let somebody else be the person that tells them about Jesus. Don't let somebody else take the privilege out of your purpose. You know, I do get that it's not easy to talk about Jesus all the time. Often we feel like we can't. We're not good enough for whatever reason. But I will go back to the main thing that I'm saying. You were created on purpose for a purpose. And so if you're there thinking, well, I've got all this stuff that's gone on in my past, I can't tell people about Jesus. Well, the chances are your mates have got stuff that's gone on in their past, and they can identify exactly with what you've been through, and you can help them through that journey to Jesus. It might be that you're sat there thinking, I'm a real introvert. I don't even really like talking to people that much, let alone talking to them about Jesus. You were created as an introvert on purpose. And so there are other introverts who relate to people in the same way that you do that need to be told about Jesus. Those people are people where people like me will come along who are loud and like overbearing, and I'd be really annoying and they wouldn't want to listen to me, but your mates want to listen to you because of who you were created to be. The other thing we can often think is, I don't know enough to tell them about Jesus. You know, in our youth group, we've got a phrase that we use a fair bit, and that's, I don't need to know everything in order to share something about Jesus. I don't need to know everything in order to share something about Jesus. You don't need to know everything, but you know something. Just the fact that you're watching this means that you know something about him. You see, the way that the woman at the well did it is she just shared her story. This is what Jesus did in my life. And so maybe there's stuff that is going on in your life now that Jesus is moving in, and that's what you talk to your friends about. Yeah, I'm really anxious about my exams, but I'm really praying about it and Jesus is giving me peace. Do you know what? This amazing thing happened, and I honestly believe that God did that, and I'm so grateful that he did. Whatever is going on in your story, how do you bring that around to sharing Jesus and declaring who Jesus is with your friends? You were created on purpose, for a purpose, so live like it. And finally, as well as demonstrating Jesus and declaring Jesus, I believe that we need to draw your friends to Jesus, to the person of Jesus. And again, in the story of the woman at the well, this is what we see. In John 4, verses 40 to 41, it says this. The people in the village, when they came out to see him, him being Jesus, they begged him to stay in their village. So Jesus stayed for 2 days, long enough for many more to hear his message and believed. Then they said to the woman, now listen to this bit, now we believe, not just because of what you told us, but because we have heard him ourselves. Now we know that he is indeed the Saviour of the world. How do we not just tell your friends about Jesus, but introduce them to him? For example, right, say there's a Netflix series that I watch and I love and I think is amazing. Now, I could demonstrate, I could show you how to log into Netflix. I could show you the search bar where you can like find the series that I'm talking about. I could even declare, I could tell you about this series and tell you how amazing the series is and how great the characters are. But unless you actually watch the series for yourself, then you don't truly know it, get it, experience it. How do we help our friends to be introduced to Jesus and not just hear about him? I think there's loads of ways that you can do this actually, but it takes courage. The first thing I think you can do is to pray for your friends. I think you should pray for your friends every day, maybe one friend every day. But it's okay because it's you doing it in your home or in your room or as you're walking to school or college or whatever. It's you setting a reminder maybe on your phone and remembering to pray for your friends. Introducing your friends to Jesus has to start there. But then I wonder whether you'd be okay praying with your friends about stuff. Maybe if there's stuff they're struggling with, you could say, could I pray with you about that? Or if there's some stuff going on for them, pray with them, offer to pray with them. Offer to pray for them and then check in and say, has it made a difference? Has God done anything? Maybe even there's some stuff going on for them and there's a Bible passage that you've read and you could maybe write out or print out or even buy your friend a Bible, show them how to read it, even show them how you hear God speak to you through it and let them try it for themselves. Maybe if you were feeling super brave, you could be praying for healing for your friends in your schools, in your classrooms. How do we get your friends into the presence of Jesus in the really normal day-to-day, in your school, in your home? Not just so that they hear about him, but so that you introduce them to him. There was a girl that I met and she was going through a really rough time. She didn't know Jesus at all. She had never been to church, never even thought about God. But I really felt God give me a Bible passage for her. And I didn't know the detail of what she'd been going through. But I just said to her, hey, I'm a Christian, I read the Bible. And when I read this, it really stood out to me. And you came to mind. And so I wanted to give this to you to keep, just so that you can read it. And if it resonates, if it makes any sense to you, I need you to know that God's given me this to give to you because I really believe he sees what you're going through and he loves you and he wants you to know that he's there. And that was it. She took it and it did make a difference. And I did then get to pray with her. How do we get people into the presence of Jesus, not just hear about him? But all of this, demonstrating Jesus, declaring Jesus, drawing people to Jesus, first of all came out of this woman at the well, her face-to-face encounter with Jesus herself. Do you know, if you have not got a living, active, passionate relationship with Jesus where he is speaking to you, where he is doing stuff in your life, this stuff flows out of that. And so for some of you who are watching this, maybe as we think about responding, what you need to be praying for and coming before God about is the fact that you need a fresh face-to-face encounter with Jesus. You need him to kind of fill you to overflowing again so that you demonstrate, declare, draw people to Jesus as second nature because you are so in love with who he is. But for some of you, as a slightly different response, I wonder whether you need to pray for courage. Maybe courage for one of those D's. Courage to demonstrate Jesus, to live in a different way, to lay something down, to maybe move away from a friendship group that you know isn't helpful to you, or to stop looking at certain websites. Maybe it's courage to demonstrate who Jesus is in your life. Maybe for some of you it's courage to declare, courage to talk about who Jesus is and actually have an opportunity to share and talk about the person of Jesus and what he has done in your life with your friends. But maybe for some of you, it's courage to to draw people to who Jesus is. Courage to offer to pray with. Courage to get creative in how we can help people to be in the presence of Jesus themselves and actually get to know him. I don't believe that you need to be a Christian before Jesus can speak to you or change you or impact you. How do we get them to experience, encounter, get to know the person of Jesus in school, in your home, in your friendship group? And so, I wonder if that might be something that God might want to do in you today. As we pray and as we reflect on how God might want us to respond. Maybe it is getting to know him face to face and having that face to face encounter again. Or maybe it's getting the courage to demonstrate, declare, draw people to Jesus. You were created on purpose, for a purpose. So we need to live like it.